beloveds. This is Rachel here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another YouTube video of the week. I am back. Y'all, I have to say something funny. I couldn't wait to say it. Okay, first of all, if you haven't visited my website, I would love for you to go there. It's a great place to connect with me, and you can send in your questions for YouTube on there. It's themodernshaman.net. So many of you have been with me forever, and you have already been on there. But I had something funny, y'all, this morning. I was getting up and I was doing my emails, and somebody went on last week's video and they posted a comment, and in the comment they posted a link to some Price is Right video, and I went on there and I clicked on it, and it is my video from 1998 when I was on The Price is Right. I don't know how you found that. I didn't even know that Price is Right videos from like the 90s were on YouTube. But it was stinking hilarious. It's hilarious. Oh my gosh, it made me crack up so hard watching that. I didn't watch the whole thing because it's like a full hour show, and it has commercials and everything on there. But oh my gosh, it was a very big happy, and it made me totally laugh and smile this morning. So thank you for whoever found that. I don't even know how you found that and connected it with me, but anyways, it made me happy. Okay, let me get on with the question for today. It says, sometimes I feel stunted in life. I know too much now, and I can't go back to my simpler life before knowing all of this spiritual stuff. But sometimes I get so tired of the Ascension talk. It's been going on for so long now. How do I keep myself going on this path after all of the newness has worn off and I'm still trudging along? Can anybody relate? Right? Everybody can relate to that. I'm crossing my legs. Yeah. You know, I always think that when we, begin our path, you may have been in a spiritual family, you may have grown up in the church, you may have grown up in some particular religion or religious family upbringing. But when I say start walking the path, I mean when you took it on for yourself, when you were like, okay, this is my soul, and I'm going to pick and choose, and I'm gonna do, and it's important to me, and it becomes part of your personal journey and how you choose to live out this life. When you start to do that, whenever that is, no matter how old or young you are, or where you are in life, I always feel like it's a little bit like poetry, right? You may have read the poem all your life. You may have seen the same people in the poem all your life. You may have been involved in that scenario that's in that poem all your life, but suddenly you realize, oh, there's all this subtext. There's all of this symbolic meaning. There's all of these metaphors and deeper understanding of the same text, the same poem, but now it's deeper. And once you know that, you can't unknow that. And you're right, you can't go back, even though it was simpler before you knew or understood. You can't unknow what you know. So it's interesting how in current times it's become popular and accepted to have a, I would say, mystical experience of spirit. Whereas when I first started in this, I remember people were totally weirded out about the term shaman. I got asked about, like, every interview I did at the beginning of my career was about, like, what is that? What does that even mean? Like, nobody knew the term. It was just so out there for so many people. And even in this line of work, they knew what a psychic was, they knew what a medium was, but they never heard that term. And nobody was really doing that. There were just, you know, it was just very uncommon. Now it's super common. And people are very, I guess, abreast of that term and really just more accepting of spiritual practices, mysticism, and kind of a broader understanding of connection to the non-physical world. It's not so outcast. So now that that's happening, there's this strange kind of feeling where once you feel your place, you're like, okay, this is me, it's something personal to me. Then now everyone else is doing it. And you're like, wait, it's not personal. And so you kind of get this strange energetic, like discrepancy, right? To where your mind just can't really take all of that in that used to feel so sincere and deep. I have this happen all the time with clients who have been light workers and practicing and been in this space of their spiritual practice or been on their own path of meditation, of higher connection for a long time before it became kind of generally accepted. And now that the terms and the language, it almost feels like it's been taken away and whitewashed. So it's hard for people in that space oftentimes to find the sense of connection that they once felt from their personal experience with spirit. This is happening all over the place. I mean, I have people coming to me all the time with this, and trying to remember what felt so connected to them and what felt so sincere and authentic in that connection. So I think your question will resonate with a lot of people. There's also a phase in our spiritual walk where when it is no longer new, it shouldn't be new. It comes time for the integration of that. It's not the learning, it's the doing, right? How does that translate into your life? This is so much of why I wanted to create a teaching curriculum, because it's one thing to like listen to these YouTube videos or to, you know, read spiritual books or spiritual memes or do the meditation practice or get into yoga or do things that start you on the path. It's another thing to integrate them into your everyday life. And that is a change that truly takes roots deep into who you are, deep into your life. I would encourage that. Like when you ask, how do I keep going on this path after all the newness has worn off? This is where it really gets good. And I've always loved that analogy of like, eat the chicken and pull out the bones. Throw them out, right? You're in this place where you're eating the juicy part. And I mean, I'm a vegetarian, but I'm using that example, right? Of where it's like you got the meat, you got all the bones and you're tossing those out. This is where you just get to decide for yourself what's true for you, what's not. The phase of newness or of the sensationalism, even the sensationalism in your own experiences, right? We have these incredibly powerful mystical experiences where you can feel so just transformed. And then it's like, and then you got to get back into going to pick up kids from school, paying bills, going to the job, you know, putting some food on the table, doing the integrated aspects of our human experience. And we cannot put the two and two together. And there's a lot of people that fall off in that because they don't know how to integrate. So my suggestion is go even deeper in your sense of what has true meaning for you in this path, and continue to throw out the bones so that your connection, it doesn't narrow, it gets deeper. It will feel like you're tossing off things even within this spiritual community. And the more and more popular that these things get, sometimes the more trite people start using the phrases and the semantics, and it almost starts to get its own dogma, right? And you're like, wait, this is what I didn't like about religion, and now all of a sudden my spiritual path is starting to sound like a religion. Like everyone feels this way, and if I don't feel that way, then suddenly I don't belong to that spiritual group. I thought that this was open-minded. You know, there's this part that still requires a sense of getting rid of the things that don't resonate for your soul. It's not about fitting a certain path. And when we have these experiences, you will get deeper and deeper in your connection to your own soul and to source by continually defining and throwing out things that do not connect with you. Okay? It's not, I said narrowing, but it's actually a deepening. It's as if you get just on the microcosm of your sense of connection. And this is beautiful. And the ironic thing about it is that it actually connects you more to others, connects you in a broader sense. That's the paradox with the divine, is that the deeper you go internally, the deeper you go externally. It's always as above, so below, and so it will mimic that expression inward, outward. If not, automatically it will eventually. So you don't have to be worried that you're cutting yourself off from things. You're actually going deeper in your sense of self. Life moves on like that. And there's a beautiful sense of grace also with our spiritual connection. Don't ever forget that that is what it really is about. It's about your soul connecting with the divine creator. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not about like, oh, these little spiritual memes and this ascension symptoms and all of these spells, and it's just not about any of it. It's not about any of it. It's about your soul's connection. And when you have that, there's nothing else that really matters, right? So keep going to that place. That is my genuine answer to that question. Just keep going to that place and let life move on from there. That's also something beautiful that Source allows for and expresses through. It took me a long time to make peace with like shallow things that felt shallow. And I'm just being real with y'all because I've always been like a very deep person, and that's been my experience. And so my experiences have been very intense in life, right? They've mirrored that back to me. And I finally realized, like, you know what? Maybe instead of judging things that are shallow as not important, and I'm not judging, like I'm not placing that on someone else, just in my own head, I didn't really value it that much. A shallow conversation or shallow things or material things. And then I realized, like, you know what? Those are expressions of spirit. Why am I cutting myself off from that? And the beauty that offers. And there is such a beautiful grace with things that are also shallow, with things that are delicate. I keep seeing a vision right now of like thin ice and a thin shell, and being able to receive in an energy that's simple and sweet and shallow, and not judging that as spiritually insignificant. And so I love that piece of advice for you also, that it's something that I've learned is that there's always newness, because we are always growing when we are open to that sense of growth, right? That even things that we have once overlooked can have a very deep and profound impact on us if we're willing to open ourselves up to it. And there's a paradox too, that like the shallow could have a deep and profound impact. It's not that I'm looking at it and taking something deep out of it. I'm letting it be as it is. I'm letting it be shallow and surface. It's a bit like candy, right? Like, you know that is not a full meal, and that's not going to really support your body and your health and this sense of growth inside of you. But it's such a gift sometimes, right? Such a gift. And so I love that. I have learned that also, and that's been a beautiful thing to learn, and the simplicity of it. and the childlikeness of that energy. So I want to encourage you to keep separating the meat from the bone and to let things be simple when they're simple, because there's growth there too, mama. There's growth in all of it, and expansion and awareness and beauty and awe. I don't want to take away, I was having this conversation with a client the other day that, like, in the same vein of letting shallow things teach you, let them be beautiful and have value. I was like, it's interesting that whenever we're channeling spirit, and those of you that channel are in my same boat, right? We channel, and people tend to ask questions that are very serious and heartfelt. And I had this thought the other day of, like, I wonder if, like, aliens dance around and are silly and tell jokes. And I wonder if these high vibrational entities that I'm channeling here and angelic, I wonder if they tell jokes and laugh, and, like, because it's such a high, buoyant vibration when you feel that sense of joy and mirth and, like, just frivolity. I think of that as, like, leprechaun energy or these but there's literally so much that we overlook often that is available in the simplicity of those joys. So I hope that that's a blessing to you. I hope that you genuinely, like, seek that out for yourself, because there's a lot there. And the newness can continue to be new the more you are open to all things expressing that beauty or that depth or that intelligence to you, right? So often, if I just sit and look at something, whether it's my children, whether it's a pillow, whether it's a sunshine, like, in the morning, or some sort of stars at night, no matter what, even simple things, a piece of paper, if I stare at the handwriting, there is always something available. No, that's a simple answer, but that's my answer. Okay, I'm going to sign off here. Mwah! Much love to you guys. We'll be back here next week with another video. Blessings.